Today is the last day of rainfall across New South Wales for this heavy rain and major flood event. I'm Angus Hines here at the Bureau of Meteorology. It is Friday the 23rd of May. Here's the latest on what we are seeing. And finally, that rain has cleared out of the mid-north coast. So Coffs Harbour, Port Macquarie, Taree, Foster, Newcastle, all of those places have seen the rain clear overnight last night. There is still wet weather across the state though. That's where we're going to start. How much rain is still to come? Well, the heavier falls are now in the south of the state. So let's zoom into southern New South Wales. And we can see some pockets of quite heavy rain on the radar imagery shown by the yellows and the reds south of Wollongong. So we're really talking the southern Illawarra as well as the south coast of New South Wales. There's some patchy falls up around Canberra and the ACT, as well as the Snowy Mountains and northern parts of Victoria at the moment, but they are not heavy falls. The persistent heavier rain is down in this area, and so of course that is where we have got our severe weather warning for further heavy rainfall today. I'll throw a few place names on the map so we can get our bearings. The warning extends from just north of Nowra in the Illawarra right down to the southern border with Victoria. The warning goes right to the coast here, but also up into the eastern slopes and plains of the Snowy Mountains and the southern tablelands. And throughout this warning area, we could see a further 60 to 120 millimetres of rain today. That may lead to riverine flooding as well as flash flooding throughout this region. And speaking of flooding, even though the rain has cleared further north, the rivers have not yet subsided. We are still seeing significant flooding across much of the New South Wales coast, particularly around Newcastle, Port Macquarie and Coffs Harbour. This is a snapshot of the flood warnings at 11 a.m. on Friday morning. I'll bring up a couple of those key rivers we've been discussing over recent days as well. Major flooding is still occurring across the Nambucca, Macleay and Hastings River in the mid-north coast. The Manning River is now down to moderate flooding with those levels starting to drop. A little further south there is also major flooding for Wallumbye Brook and the Tuggerah Lake. And the main changes in our flood warnings have been further to the south. We are now seeing some flooding around the Greater Sydney area and up into those western hills, with moderate flooding on the Colo River, minor flooding on the Georges, Hawkesbury and Nepean rivers. So obviously some key waterways for that part of the country. Further south, keep an eye on this purple area. This is our flood watch, and that pretty much overlaps with the severe weather warning, which makes sense because this tells us that the rivers down in this area may yet still see some flooding in the coming days, likely to be minor flooding, potentially locally moderate flooding could be reached. Let's see the overall progression of the weather system through Friday, everything moving southwards. No surprise there, we are already seeing that on the radar. As we continue through Friday afternoon, it continues to move southwards, and what that really means is by the end of the day, this is now Friday night, the rain is pretty much cleared out of all of New South Wales, perhaps still a little bit of patchy falls over inland places. But those east coast areas which have been hardest hit, by the end of the day, that rain will be done. However, still will be wet weather falling across parts of Victoria, and in particular overnight tonight, Tasmania picks up a lot of wet weather. Could be some heavy falls around parts of northeastern Tasmania through the early hours of Saturday morning. Here's a look at the rainfall forecast for the next 36 hours, and the heaviest falls are here, right overlapping with our severe weather warning across the Illawarra and the south coast of New South Wales, with the potential for some moderate to heavy totals across northeastern parts of Tasmania. In Victoria, it will be lighter falls through central and eastern parts, perhaps 10 to 30 millimetres for some areas. So while we are seeing the tail end of the rain, that flooding will last for days to come. So stay up to date with severe weather information, and in particular if you're in New South Wales, keep an eye on those flood warnings for those key rivers along the east coast. That's it from me. Have a safe day and a happy weekend.